The night lay heavy over the deserted highway, streetlights barely piercing the damp darkness and reflecting off puddles like dim, ghostly lanterns. Ethan Carter, a retired firefighter whose once black hair was now peppered with grey, gripped the steering wheel with careful hands as his small truck rumbled forward. At his side, Max, his fierce, faithful German shepherd, curled up on the passenger seat, ears twitching at every distant sound. The world felt hushed, as if holding its breath, until a sudden blinding set of headlights tore through the quiet and hurled their lives into chaos. What happened next would test every ounce of loyalty and courage they possessed. And it all began in that sudden flash. Ethan's heart lurched as a speeding vehicle hurtled toward them, its lights like twin comets on a collision course. With no time to hesitate, he yanked the wheel. Tires screamed in protest, and the truck skidded, groaned against the guardrail, and tumbled over the side. The whirl fit, metal buckled, and glass flew like shattered starlight. Then came a bone-jarring impact that silenced everything. In the shocked stillness, Max let out a fractured whimper, his paws scrabbling against twisted metal. Was his master alive beneath that wreckage? The answer lay in a single agonized heartbeat. Shaking, Max forced his legs to carry him out of the crushed cab, rain mingling with blood on his fur. Ethan lay slumped, unconscious, crimson seeping through his shirt as breathing slowed to a feeble whisper. Max barked, urgent, pleading, but no human answered. Desperation hardened into resolve. Max pressed his cold nose to Ethan's hand in a silent vow, then tore away toward the dark road, each drop of rain a ticking clock. Splashes marked his frantic dash as cars roared past, oblivious to the heroic dog crying out for help. Could one determined animal cut for indifference before time ran out? Up ahead, flashing red and blue lights danced on the wet pavement, painting the night in urgent colour. A lone police cruiser sat by the roadside, and Officer Luke Reynolds jotted notes on a clipboard. Max charged in, mud-spattered and soaked, jolting Luke from routine into alarm. At first, the officer knelt, offering soft words to what he thought was just a stray, until Max leapt up, claws scratching insistently, eyes blazing panic. Suddenly, Luke realised this was no lost dog, but a living SOS. He tossed the clipboard aside and flung open the cruiser door. "Hold on, buddy. I'm coming with you." The engine growled to life, and they blasted back toward the wreck. But what awaited them in that ditch would chill them to their bones. Headlights cut through the rain-slick road as the cruiser roared back. Luke glanced in the mirror. Max sat rigid, pressing against the glass like a soldier poised for battle. Minutes later, they turned onto a narrow dirt path. Shining the spotlight, they saw the overturned truck, a metallic carcass, hissing steam, windows shattered into glittering fragments. Inside, Ethan's blood trailed down his forehead, and his breaths came shallow and slow. Max erupted into frantic marks and pounded on the door as though he would tear open the metal himself. Luke radioed for backup. "Officer Reynolds, need rescue crew, 1 victim trapped, critical." The shrill cry for help echoed into the night, answered by screeching sirens as rescuers tore across the highway. But would they arrive in time? Ethan was lifted onto a stretcher, Max leaping into the ambulance to crouch beside him, wet fur pressing against bruised ribs. Sirens wailed as they raced to the hospital. Then all was chaos. Doors swung open, lights flashed, and Max was carried out, panting on cold tile outside the operating room. Every echoing footstep and muffled voice became a hammer, pounding Max's heart. He pressed his head to the door, eyes unblinking, certain that Ethan's life depended on each passing second. Would those doors ever reopen to reveal his master alive again? Moments later, Dr. Hart emerged, her face tight. She delivered the worst of news. Ethan's injuries were severe. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, a skull fracture, and the surgery required funds the insurance wouldn't cover. The cost was a wall between Ethan and life, and tears formed in Luke's eyes. At that moment, Max's amber gaze locked on the reception desk. He rose, front paws pounding the counter, letting out a desperate whine and a single piercing bark. Phones lifted, cameras recorded, hearts cracked open. In minutes, the video went viral. The internet clamoured to save a dog who had saved a man. By the time the dust settled, enough donations had poured in to cover every bill. Dr. Hart nodded, astonished. "Let's operate." A miracle born of pure loyalty was about to unfold. Outside the operating room, rain still dripped from Max's coat onto the sterile floor. The hospital corridors felt endless, every tick of the clock a drumbeat of worry. Surgeons laboured beneath glaring lights, sponges soaked crimson. Monitors beeped in tense rhythm. Max remained motionless, muscles coiled, watching that closed door as if guarding a sacred barrier. Would Ethan's heart keep beating behind steel and glass? At last, Dr. Hart reappeared, mask lifted, exhaustion and relief in her eyes. He's stable, he'll pull through. Max barked triumphantly and bounded inside, leaping onto the bed as Ethan's chest rose and fell with a deeper, stronger sigh. Their reunion was joy incarnate. Wet noses nuzzled against bruised hands, tails thumping like victory drums. But Luke's voice cut through the moment. Something isn't right. The brake system shows tampering. Ethan's smile faltered. Max leaned closer, sensing the shift. This was no accident. It was an assassination attempt, and now the hunt for the truth would begin. Luke laid out the evidence. Before retirement, Ethan had fought a massive industrial fire where a key witness died under suspicious circumstances. That witness had ties to Lieutenant Eric Dawson, a cop notorious for corruption but never convicted. The room grew cold. Ethan's mind raced back to that night, before the lights hit him. The brake pedal had been lifeless. Someone wanted him dead. Max pressed against Ethan's leg, offering silent strength. The bond between them was now the linchpin in exposing a dark conspiracy. Their strategy was interrupted by a knock, and two men in black suits glided in, badges nowhere in sight. Max's hackles rose. He snarled, low and dangerous. The first doctor reached behind his coat for a gun. Faster than thought, Max sprang, teeth sinking into the man's wrist with a wet crunch. Bruh. The second drew a knife, eyes cold. But Ethan, shaky though he was, grabbed the fallen gun, racked the slide, and levelled it at the attacker. Try it, he breathed, voice steel. Luke kicked into action, drawing his service weapon and shouting, "Don't move!" Handcuffs snapped, echoing hope through the tension. A message on the attacker's phone glowed. If you fail, retreat immediately. Leave no trace. More enemies lurked in the shadows, but Max, ever watchful, stood ready. Who else was coming? Over the next days, encrypted calls were traced, evidence compiled, and Eric Dawson was arrested along with his network of cronies. Corruption unravelled under the weight of truth, and headlines screamed of a firefighter saved by a heroic dog and a determined cop. On a sunny morning, Ethan, still bandaged but smiling, sat on his porch. Max rested at his feet, head on his lap. Luke called with a grin, "You ready for that beer?" Ethan patted Max's head. "I think someone else deserves a reward first." Max stumped his tail, broad as a banner of triumph. As they rose together, stepping into the light, Ethan knew this. No matter what dangers lay ahead, he and Max would face them side by side. Man and dog, bound by courage, loyalty, and an unbreakable bond that had saved a life and revealed the darkness lurking just out of sight.